Miles Garrett, the defensive player of the year, Mr. NFL sack record, was just traded yesterday to guess whom? The Rams. Of all teams, the Rams, which means that they are making a massive Super Bowl push. Not only that, there are rumblings that Donald, what's his name? Donald might be coming back as well. Check this out. I if you can, I'm telling you, does this concern us as Raider fans? Not really, not really. But if you are if you have Niner friends, please wish them well, because I cannot think of a more. We need to screw over Mike Shanahan and make sure this man never wins a championship than to trade for Miles Garrett. At the same time as you're talking about Aaron Donald potentially coming back. That's like Mike Shanahan. Our entire job on this planet is to make sure you don't win a Super Bowl. So let's talk Raiders. So the moment that happened, the next question becomes Maxx Crosby. But here's the reason why it becomes Maxx Crosby. If the Rams are making such a massive play to win now, because Jared Verse is a potential all pro level defensive end. It's just that Miles Garrett is the de facto best defensive player in the NFL right now. So they're willing to trade away a potential Hall of Famer in Jared Verse. By the way, he's a potential Hall of Famer if he can keep up where he's going. And now he's going back home to Cleveland, right? I believe he's from Cleveland, Ohio. I think he's from Ohio. But it tells the NFL world the Rams are not playing around. And the last time the Rams did something this big, guess what? They won the Super Bowl. It's when they traded for Stanford. Yeah, remember that? They give Jared Goff to the to the Detroit Lions for Stanford, which was a great trade for both teams. Both teams benefited greatly. Both franchises turned around because of that trade. Even though the Lions haven't won any Super Bowls, that trade turned their franchise around. It was incredible. So, but the Rams are at it again. Guess what? Guess what? In the Rams division, we still have the Seahawks who won a Super Bowl last year. Do you think they're going to be sitting around waiting to see what else the Rams are going to have? Are they going to start asking for somebody like a Maxx Crosby? Which, yes, has already been floated that Maxx Crosby gets traded to the Seattle Seahawks. And the reason is simple. The Rams just stocked up. Everyone in their division is fully on notice now. Myles Garrett got 23 sacks last year. How many do you think he's going to get this year? You better be counting on at least 20, which means life for Brock Purdy is not going to be easy. And if Aaron Donald comes back, then it becomes very, very sure that, no, we're making a big push. We're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. So then what is everybody else doing? And that's just in their division, right? Where, yeah, the Seahawks could pull a trigger to say, let's trade for Maxx Crosby. The 49ers won't, because the 49ers have both of the, what's their name? The two brothers. You get the point. The one that used to play for the Chargers. They have those guys, the Bozas, right? They got both of those guys. The Seahawks lost, was it Mafe? They lost Mafe, right? Yeah, they lost Mafe. And yesterday they re-signed their other defensive end. So are they now going to possibly make a big push to get somebody like Maxx Crosby? Okay. What about other divisions? What about someone like the Bills? They've been trying to find a leg up, right? And the Bills have realized that no matter what they do, offensive-wise, it just still doesn't seem to ever be enough. Well, why not make a big push for a big defensive end? And I guess technically they already did sign a defensive end, right? But there are other teams out there who would give up resources for Maxx Crosby's services simply because the Rams just laid the gauntlet down, right? What the Rams have just done is the equivalent of saying, we're going for it all in this year. So the question is, who else is going to follow them? So first off, if we trade for Max, how much are we thinking he's going for here? Look, I think the Raiders have stayed firm on 2 first, right? And I think that's still the plan. Because technically speaking, Miles did go for two firsts because Jerry Verse is a first caliber player, a first round caliber player. Jerry Verse is on the brink of being an All Pro. He's a very good defensive end. So he is definitely a first round talent, including another first and a few more things. I think the Raiders do have a right to stay firm and say, yes, we are looking for two first. But Maxx Crosby hasn't really done anything to not help the case that if I want to be traded, I'm ready to go because he's been showing up and moving around, showing the NFL world that whatever the Ravens thought they saw wasn't really there. They just got cold feet and went with a lesser deal. Fine. Good luck to them. Right? But Maxx Crosby seems to be showing that, yes, he's healthy. So, that continues to build this sense that if Maxx Crosby is traded, it will be to first. Maybe now it's down to a first and a second, but at least we're gonna get something close to first. Do the Raiders still want to trade Maxx Crosby? I believe the answer to that is honestly, yeah, they're still down for trading Maxx Crosby. So the question is, why would they still be down for trading Maxx Crosby? Why are they trying to trade Maxx Crosby at all? Because the Raiders have officially begun their rebuild. And Maxx Crosby is 29 years old. And Maxx Crosby, like Myles Garrett, wants to win now because he wants to go play on a team that will compete. Here's where things do get interesting, though, right? The Raiders are a much better team on paper than we were last year. Even without Maxx Crosby in the way, because remember, we tried to trade him. And I need to let people know this. The reason the Raiders are willing to trade Maxx Crosby is because Maxx Crosby is not the thing that the Raiders need right now. Now, does that mean that if we kept Maxx Crosby that it won't work out? No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, there's a very real possibility that we keep Maxx Crosby and it becomes the best thing ever. Because the thing with the Raiders team right now is it's just one giant unknown. But it's also clear that the talent is there, right? We've got the quarterback that seems to have the talent. Yeah, it needs time to let that be revealed. But he seems to have the talent, right? That's there. Combine that with a Nakobe Dean, who, by the way, turns out Nakobe Dean is fine. He's fine. He's coming back. I think the team released a statement saying everything's fine. It's OTAs. He doesn't need to show up. He's a veteran. He knows the game. He knows what he's doing. So we're not going to panic on that. But all of the offseason addition means that even without Maxx Crosby, the Raiders could either be an 8-win team or a 4-win team. But with Maxx Crosby, the Raiders can be between an 8 to an 11-win team. Or we could bottom out and still be a 4-win team. And what happens if you bottom out and continue to be a 4-win team? Then the Maxx Crosby gets extremely disgruntled and the price to trade him goes down. Right? So that's why you would say, let's trade him now. However, in the case that the price increases, if the Raiders somehow win like 10 games and Maxx Crosby actually performs to a defensive player of the year caliber, which has only been close to once, and if I may be fair to Maxx Crosby, I just don't think he's going to ever get that as long as Myles Garrett is in the game. And Myles Garrett happens to just be the same age, around the same age as Maxx Crosby, right? And now you also have a Michael Parsons, right? If, though, Maxx Crosby has a breakout year and the Raiders actually perform marginally well, win like maybe 10 games, and sneak into a wild card or get eliminated right before the wild card because the division is so stacked. Everybody else are at 12 wins, right? That's a possibility. And if that happens, then the price for Maxx Crosby would maybe not go up because he would be 1 year older, but at the very least, the price there will remain at 2 first. And if that's the case, if the Raiders end up winning 10 games next year, not saying it's going to happen, but if it happens, and then what? Do we trade Maxx Crosby the following year? Because if the Raiders win 10 games, that means that the rebuild just got accelerated. Which, by the way, that's the hope for anybody who's wondering, like, what are the hope? The hope is that the rebuild gets accelerated, and rather than winning like 5-6 games, we actually end up winning like 9-10 games. Right? If you really want to accelerate this thing, oh man, if you want to put this rebuild on a booster, just go. You start Fernando Mendoza around week 5, and just see what and just see what he's got, and if he's got something, you could end up getting about 9 wins, and even at the very least, you could potentially get about 5 wins and just kind of kickstart the rebuild. But the rebuild is just started. The foundation are just getting laid right now. We haven't even gotten on the field to show what this rebuild is going to look like. So that's the Maxx Crosby story. So should we trade Maxx Crosby if people come asking? And what is the price for Maxx Crosby for you, Raider Nation? What is the price for Maxx Crosby if teams come asking after the Myles Garrett trade? What are you asking for?